Okay, so today's video is all about the 5 things that we need to be doing as Catholics to be a practicing Catholic. And I am going to be honest with you, I did not even know that the 5th one was something that you had to be doing to be Catholic, because I was not doing this. So my point to saying that is, if you are watching this and you're like, I didn't know you had to do that to be Catholic, that's okay. That's the awesome part of God's mercy. God is so merciful, and all we have to do is go to confession and confess the things that we haven't been doing to have that connection with God. And God's mercy is so big in the Catholic faith. That is one of my favorite parts about the Catholic faith, is we really do teach God's mercy and how awesome God is and how loving and forgiving the Heavenly Father is, because He honestly doesn't have to be this forgiving. He could demand perfection, you know, but we are all sinners and we all fall short of that, and yet He still loves us. So when we go to confession, we are, you know, reuniting with God and saying, I'm so sorry, God. And that is a good and beautiful thing. Now, the Catholic Church, what I love about the Catholic Church is their whole goal, their whole mission is to get us to heaven. And so these are the 5 things that the Catholic Church teaches that we need to have that relationship with God, the bare minimum that we need to do to get to heaven, to be with God. And so to be a practicing Catholic, the first thing you need to do is to go to Mass every Sunday. Now, we live in a culture, I feel like, where if you're not feeling it, you just don't go. You know, you're feeling holy or more connected to God going fishing or going on a hike with your family, but that is not the Catholic Church. That's great if you do that along with going to Mass, or, you know, after Mass, but really truly going to Mass is an extremely important thing, to go every single Sunday, unless, you know, there's some big reason why we can't go. And I'm not just saying like having the sniffles or something like that, but just like, you know, if you are on your deathbed or you're fighting a war, you know, or something like that, you just physically can't get to Mass. I did mission work in Honduras, and there were times that, you know, people up in the mountains didn't have a priest with them except for twice a year. So there are times that, you know, you obviously can't get to Mass. But if you can get to Mass, you need to get to Mass. That is actually considered a grave sin in the Catholic Church if you don't go to church on Sunday. So this isn't something where you're like, oh, I'm just not feeling it, like I don't want to go to church, so, you know, I'll just watch it on TV or something like that. You really do need to make an effort. In fact, you know, Saint Juan Diego, Our Lady of Guadalupe, appeared to him, to Saint Juan Diego, and he would go, I believe it was 2 hours walk to Mass, just to get to Mass every day. And so that tells you the importance of Mass. So obviously go more. If you can go to daily Mass, that's beautiful, and definitely go, because Jesus is truly present in the Holy Eucharist. The second thing to add to that is Holy Day of Obligations. So we need to be going to Holy Day of Obligations. Those aren't really, you know, just, oh, if you're feeling it, go to Mass. But really truly go to Mass on the Holy Day of Obligations. On my phone, I have an app called iMissal, and that lets me know what days are the Holy Day of Obligations, and I'll write it on my calendar, and I'm usually pretty good. But to be honest, not too long ago, my husband and I totally forgot about one of the Holy Day of Obligations. So we both remember, well, I remembered, like, right as Mass was ending, like there was 5 minutes left of Mass, and I was making dinner, and I'm like, oh, we forgot Holy Day of Obligation. And I told my husband, and, you know, we checked if there were any other churches around who had Mass, and there weren't. We felt really bad, and that was obviously an accident, but we need to go. Like, that is a big deal in the Catholic faith on those holy days. So if you do miss it, like for that, we both went to confession and we said we are sorry, and we didn't receive the Eucharist until we went to confession. And that's really, truly, honestly what we need to do. If you haven't been going to Mass, you go here or there. If you are Catholic, this is for Catholics, you have to go to Mass. In fact, Father Mike Schmitz just did a video on this about the importance of Mass and how important it is to go and everything. So I'll link that down below in the description box if you're interested, but it was really good about why we go to Mass on Sundays and the importance of it. So definitely start going to Mass every single Sunday. Don't miss Mass. And honestly, if you can go to daily Mass, that is even more awesome. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to go to confession at least once a year. Now I've heard that it's best to go during Advent or during Lent. You'll see, like, there are parishes who have lots of priests, you know, who have a whole night of confession and stuff. So it is like a big deal during those times. Now, Our Lady of Fatima does say to go once a month, that we should really truly be going once a month, and I truly feel like we should be honoring our mother in that way. And so going once a month. Padre Pio said to go once a week. And in fact, Pope John Paul II went every single day. And I don't think it was because there were these huge sins or anything, but I think it's because he wanted to have that grace. When we are in union with God, we can have that grace, we can hear God, we can have that joyful spirit. And so he would go every day, and think of how clean he was. You know, like, I love that he did that. And just to say the importance of confession. I have people commenting and messaging me all the time about how worried they are about going to confession and the priest remembering them and their confession and all of that. And I've heard priests, I have good priest friends who say they don't remember anything. They really don't, and they've heard it all. There's nothing that, you know, that you've done that they haven't heard that's gonna shock them, but they're just so grateful that you're there and you wanna have a clean soul. So truly, I have a video on confession. I have it in my description box always because confession is so awesome and healing. So I highly recommend going to confession. On Saturdays is when most parishes have confession, so definitely go as often as you can, because you really will see a difference in your soul. You will feel so clean and so pure and joyful, and just being in union with God is so awesome. So go to confession at least once a year, the church says, but you know, all these saints and stuff do it so much more. So if these saints who are holy need to do it so much more, we should probably go as much too. So go as much as you can, but the church says once a year. Okay, so the third thing is to receive the Eucharist once a year during the Easter season. And hopefully you're receiving every week. That's why if you have a mortal sin, you should not be receiving the Eucharist. You should be going to confession first. That is something you need to go to the confessional and confessing those sins, and then going to receive the Eucharist. But there was a period of time where people just didn't think they were worthy enough to receive the Eucharist, which really none of us are, but with God's mercy through confession we can go. So if we have a mortal sin on our soul, we should not be receiving the Eucharist. We can still go to Mass and we can go up for a blessing, but we really should not be receiving the Eucharist unless we're pretty clean. You know, we can't put Jesus into a vessel that is, you know, full of sin, that is kind of counteractive. So going to confession really does help, that we should be going every Sunday if we can to receive the Eucharist, but at least once a year. Okay, the fourth one is that we need to be helping out the church in any way that we can. That is our responsibility as parishioners, is to help them out, whether it's financially. You know, I did a video on tithing a while ago saying that we have to tithe 10%, which is not actually accurate. I am correcting myself. We do that, and actually the word tithe does mean 10%, but if you cannot financially give 10%, then just give what you can, is what the church teaches. And also, like, you can give through ministry is another thing. You know, if you're a youth ministry, if you're helping out the youth ministry at your parish, or you're helping catechize the kids at Sunday school, or different things like that, you're helping out the Catholic Church. Because our church, yes, there's a priest, and that's awesome, but there is so much more that goes into being a part of the church. Like, we need to actively participate, you know, be a lector or, you know, sing in the choir, different things. All of us are supposed to be helping praise God together and helping build that. So finances, just to run back to that, like, I feel like it's really uncomfortable for churches to ask for money. I know a lot of people think, oh, churches just want money. And, you know, I've had so many comments about that from people. Oh, the church just wants money, which is not true. Like, we have to have a building and a place of worship and lights and administrators and all of these things, which cost money. So we should be giving money to the church. That's something that we should be doing, is helping out financially as well if we can. So keep that in mind. We should be contributing in some way to the Catholic faith, to our churches, our parishes, and just keep that in mind. That is the fourth thing we need to be doing. Okay. So the fifth one is we need to be fasting and doing penance. So I did not know this. We should be doing penance every Friday, because during Lent, you know how during Lent they're like, oh, meatless Fridays, and the fish fillet, you know, sandwiches come out that time of year. Well, the truth is we need to be doing that every Friday during the entire year. I had no clue about this. I honestly didn't until I think it was like 2 Lents ago, maybe last Lent. Somebody told me that, and I was like, what? I had no clue. I was brought up Catholic. I have been in the Catholic faith my whole life, and I have priest friends, and I've just never heard that before. I didn't know that that's something the church said. So I believe it's Vatican II switched it, because it used to always be that way. Every Friday was meatless Fridays. And so the Catholic Church, I believe it was Vatican II, it might have been Vatican I should have did my homework on that, but switched it to you can do some form of penance instead of giving up meat on Friday. So if you want to have a burger on Friday, you still need to do something special to remember that Jesus Christ died that day. So for our family, we try to do meatless, but we also, during our family prayer at night, will pray a decade of the rosary. And that is our way to remember that, oh, you know, today Jesus died. Like, Fridays is a special day in the Catholic Church. Jesus died on a Friday, and we remember that. So as far as fasting goes, there's only 2 days really that the church says that we have to be fasting. So every Ash Wednesday, the Catholic Church says we need to be fasting, and Good Friday. And what that means is that we have 2 very small meals and then 1 regular size meal. And I'm not gonna lie, my husband gets really crabby on those days. And I think that I get that way too. I mean, I've been nursing and pregnant for so long. I think last year was the first year I didn't have that. So I'm like, oh, I have to be eating. So obviously if you're pregnant or fast, you know, you have like medical reasons, then that's fine. But you really should be giving something else up on those days, you know, that are really legit. And there are people who just fast on bread and water on, you know, that Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. And that's another thing. You could do more. And, you know, Jesus fasted 40 days in the desert. And so really 2 days a year is nothing. So, so those are the 5 things that we should be doing as Catholics. Now, we should be definitely doing, you know, the 10 Commandments as well. Like, that's definitely something that we need to be doing as Christians, just basic Christianity, are following the 10 Commandments. So definitely look into the Catholic faith, what the 10 Commandments are when you go into confession, because you would be surprised, like all of the things that, you know, I didn't realize that I was doing that was hurting God. And that is the whole point of confession and the 10 Commandments, is not for God condemning us, but we want to live up to this standard that God has for us. We want to be the best that we can be for God, because He is so amazing and He's given us so much and we deserve nothing. So we truly want to just grow closer to God, become the people that God created us to be, fully and completely. And so that's why I love the Catholic Church, because they do nothing but bring us to God. Also, following the Catholic Church's teachings. You know, what are the teachings of the church? Learning what are the teachings, just growing in the faith is such a good, beautiful thing, because that is what will get us to heaven. That is what will make us who God created us to be, to get to heaven. And we can't get to heaven unless our souls are ready. We cannot get to heaven unless we're pure and we're following God's will. That's what sainthood is all about. It's doing God's will, you know, and sticking to that and listening to God and praying every day. So anyway, I hope that this helped you. I was kind of shocked with this when I looked into it and stuff. So I hope that this helps somebody out there. Maybe you guys knew all of these and you guys are awesome, but I did not know number 5 and I was shocked. So I'm glad to know now, and like I said, I can perfect that and become a better person through that. And so anyway, I hope this video helped you guys, and until next time, I will see you all later. God bless. Bye.